It's funny. It's just like, it's literally just gets up at midnight and takes the gates.
Yeah.
It's just saying, Samson strong. Here you go.
It's like,
That's all it is. It's just,
how am I going to react badly to this? Let me take your gates.
yeah, he just takes his gates. So passive aggressive.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's kind of weird thinking of Samson as passive.
Just being petty.
Yeah.
Samson being petty. Yeah. That's pretty funny.
Oh, man. Welcome to the Bible is Metal. I'm Chad. Got Graham here.
Hi.
We got some housekeeping to do.
We do.
We do. We've never done housekeeping before.
Okay.
Do you know what housekeeping is when I say we have
I
housekeeping?
don't know what you're talking about. I disagreed.
Okay. So we've got a couple of cool things to talk about before we pop on with this content. You got that? So
I got you.
first thing, set Bible so it looks cool.
Yep.
So these are super limited edition right now, but let's see if I can get that over there. So they got the hologram flippies.
The flippies.
The Bible is Metal.
That's trademarked.
We've got, by the time this rolls, I think we'll have more stickers, a different kind in.
I hope.
I've done. We've got a URL now. So if you want to go catch the content of these episodes, if you want to go buy, and we're going to slowly start rolling out more merch for this, you can go to thebibleismetal.live.
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal now.
We're a big deal in the Old Testament YouTube live stream world.
Yeah, the YouTube scene.
But I'm Chad, Graham here. You know, we're finishing up the Samson story today. We've been in the book of Judges for a couple months now. And I'm just continually reminded that as crazy as these stories are, there's like actually a lot of truth inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was watching the stream from Samson Part 1, was like, man, there's a lot of lessons that we can just learn about human character and the way we act inside of this.
Of course, it's not just in the book for no reason.
No. It's there. So Samson Part 2, the way we normally do this is Graham kind of gives us the play-by-play. I talk about stuff. You know, we talk about stuff, and then we have our metal moment of the week from the story. And so let's get our play-by-play, Graham.
All right. So last episode, we pretty much went through the majority of it. So we're just going to finish up the story because it still gets wild. So we start off after his great victory from last time. If you remember, he got to rule over Israel for 20 years. All right. And so this is basically during that. So Samson carries away Gaza's gates. One day Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. Word soon spread that Samson was there, so the men of Gaza gathered together and waited all night at the town gates. They kept quiet during the night, saying to themselves, when the light of morning comes, we will kill him. So Samson, instead of getting up in the morning, gets up at midnight, and in the most passive-aggressive thing ever, he just picks up their gates and takes them.
It's like, hey, I've got to get out of here because you're coming to get me.
Yeah.
But let me take your gates.
Yeah, let me take your gates.
Yeah. And it's also the thing that that could stop them from tracking him down.
I guess, but it kind of what it reminds me of is like when schools have these petty competition where they just take each other's stuff.
Yeah.
Like I remember Madeline was telling us about the Loyola letters and how they just take them. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just super petty. But that's literally, that's just one passage of the rest of the story. And so I just thought that was really funny that it's just in there that he took the gates. So anyways, now to the more important stuff. So Samson keeps ruling or judging Israel, and he falls in love with a woman named Delilah.
You know there's a Grateful Dead song called Samson and Delilah.
I did not know that.
It's not metal.
I'll definitely listen to it. I'm definitely going to listen to that on the way back to cross country after this. So he falls in love with Delilah, and they just kind of do their thing. And basically, the Philistines right now are still they're still mad at Samson.
Oh yeah,
and they're always just trying to get him.
There's beef.
Yeah, there's a lot of beef. Yeah, a lot of shade being thrown around. And so basically, the Philistines start to negotiate with Delilah. Like, look, if you find his weakness, if you get him to be weak, we'll give you money. That way we can take him out and capture him and do all this stuff they want to do to him, crazy stuff. So Delilah basically starts prodding at him to ask him what his secret is. So when she first asks him, he says, you will need 12 bowstrings. You need to tie me down with 12 fresh bowstrings, okay? So she does that. It's kind of weird that he just let her tie him down.
Yeah.
Either way, it's still weird not knowing the context.
Yeah.
But so basically she says, the Philistines are coming to attack you, because they are. They're getting ready now that he's tied down. And basically he just snaps them in half. He was totally just like tricking her and all that. But he didn't necessarily know they were after him, right? I don't know. He didn't realize he was being tricked.
Well, I think he knows. I mean, he knows.
Maybe he does
He's
know.
like intentionally deceiving her. He's taunting her.
Yeah, he's totally taunting her throughout this whole time. So, anyways, the first thing fails. So she goes to the Philistines and they're like, okay, please, we really need you to do this. So she goes back and she asks him again. This time he says, if you weave my hair into your loom.
So you make fabric.
Yeah, if you weave my hair into your loom, I will be as weak as any other man. So she does that, and while he's asleep, and she wakes him up and says, the Philistines have come to capture you. And obviously that didn't work, because he was just totally kidding and taunting her. So he just breaks out of it, and nothing happens.
Does a Samson thing.
Does a Samson thing. Yeah. And so she's fooled again. And, third time's the charm, I guess. So the Philistines ask her one more time, please do it. And so she goes to Samson and she begs him, please stop taunting me. Tell me what your weakness is. And after just a whole bunch of nagging, I'd imagine, Samson finally just cracks and he says, it's my hair. I took a Nazirite vow, right? Nazirite, I believe. Yeah.
Yep.
I took a Nazirite vow and I can't cut my hair, else the Lord's Spirit will leave me. So now she knows this. She gathers up the Philistines, and when he falls asleep, she fetches a man to shave his head. He wakes up, the Philistines are there, and he tries to do something, and they realize, oh, my hair's gone. So obviously they capture him. I mean, Samson literally, the Lord's Spirit had left him, and now he's just completely weak as any other man. Now his hair's gone. So they capture him and they gouge out his eyes.
Yeah.
Obviously there's some beef going on. They're pretty angry at him.
Yeah.
And that's not the end. So it says a good amount of time goes by because his hair begins to grow back.
Yeah.
So during that, they basically want to put him on display in Gaza.
Yeah.
Like as just this little show pony with his eyes taken out. They put him in the court, and there's just thousands of people in this palace room, courthouse thing. And so while he's standing there's these two pillars that hold up the entire place. Doesn't sound like a smart idea how to build a building, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
And let's put the really strong guy between the two pillars.
Let's put the really strong guy between the two pillars.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So he basically says, he can't see, so like the servants are leading him places, and he says, put me by the two posts so I can rest on them.
Yeah.
So when he's on there and everybody's laughing at him, everybody's having a good time, he prays for the Lord to give him strength one last time, and he uses that strength to collapse the entire building and kill himself along with the thousands of people. And this was the most people he killed out of his entire lifetime.
And what's weird is, I'm going back in the story, there's other times he has killed
He's killed a lot of people
in one stretch.
It is specifically stated this is the most people that he's killed in once.
So the Samson story, I was on YouTube the other night, and I was trying to see if I could. I was on a podcast. I was driving. I was like, hey, let me see if I can find, because there's some decent Bible scholar podcasts. So let me see if I can find a Samson podcast. Just listen to as I'm driving, and I kept finding all these kid podcasts. And the more I read this story, why are you telling your kids this story? And looking up to this guy, he's crazy.
Yeah, this dude is a psychopath.
This is not hey, you want to find upstanding person, children, to live your life in the ways of God? Here's Samson. He drinks too much, he sleeps with prostitutes, and he kills people. Let's tell this story. But he's strong. He's strong. So he's strong. As long as he's strong, he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. So it makes I don't know why this guy is a kid. I remember when I worked in Christian retail. We sold
Christian retail.
My goodness, dude!
We've heard. The church has heard the stories.
So I remember we had a stuffed Samson that got shipped to us. It was. You remember? You might not remember this. You're too young. They used to have these stuffed versions of wrestlers. And they were kind of flat, and you'd buy them, Channing would have one of these.
Oh my God.
And it's for you to wrestle and punch and this kind of stuff. We had one of those fake stuffed wrestler Samsons that we sold at Christian Books and Gifts in Ruston, Louisiana.
That is
I don't know why Samson is a kid's story.
It's easy to. He's like the Bible version of Superman, except not as good.
Well, so
think about it.
What was the word we kept using last episode? Was it morally suspect? It was something like that. Like the guy is.
I don't remember.
Like at best, he's like halfway.
Yeah, he's like almost at the gray area.
Yeah, no. You got the white area, the gray area, and the black area, and he's like right there on the edge of gray and black.
Yeah, he's. Yeah.
Also, something that'll be interesting is I mean, I have to check real quick. I think that Samson might be the last named person. Yeah, I think he is. Samson is the last named protagonist of the book.
That is right. Yeah. Well, we only have one more story.
No, we have two.
We do.
We forgot about the Levite and the idols.
You're right.
That's the next story.
Yeah.
He's not named. And then the Levite,
and the other Levite, he's not named either.
Yeah.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah. So Samson's this last named person. So a couple of things we're tracing where the Samson story is now. I wish I would have gone back. My buddy J.R. Forasteros wrote a book called Empathy for the Devil. And what he did was he looked at, I think, 12 or 13 bad people in the Bible and did 2 chapters on each one of them. And the first chapter was a narrative version of what that person might be thinking that motivates them to do their stuff.
Okay.
And then the second chapter about that person is kind of more of a biblical historical look at who this person was, what this person came from, what we can infer about them that led them to make these decisions. And there's 2 chapters on Delilah. Really? I should have gone back and read those a couple days ago.
What other people were in that? I'm just wondering. What other people?
Cain.
Fair enough.
So Cain's in there.
Judas is in there, I'm guessing.
Judas is in there. The devil is in there.
Interesting.
It's a good book.
That sounds pretty interesting.
I've recommended it to a lot of people. I mean, JR's a cool guy, but the book Empathy for the Devil is a really good book.
Okay.
I should have gone back and read Delilah. Like Jezebel is in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jezebel, that might be season 2. Yeah, Jezebel. Yeah, season 2. So a couple of things. The wider story, as we put ourselves back in the beginning of it. So in chapter 13, when the angel comes to his dad Manoah, one of the questions Manoah asks is, "Now when your words come true, what is to be the child's manner of life, and what is his mission?" And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, "Of all that I said to the woman, let her be careful." So his mom takes the Nazirite vow. That's what he says here. So he's just talking to the mom. And remember, this whole Nazirite vow is about being set apart. Mm-hmm. And for Samson to have a lifelong Nazirite vow means his entire life is to be set apart. And what we see happening throughout the story is he journeys further and further and further away from his set apartness. And I'm looking back and reading this. I don't think that the strength thing was told to the parents by the angel.
It probably wasn't.
I don't think it was. But this whole verse 12, about what is to be the child's manner of life and what is his mission. Samson, I think, is the only judge that we find that was a judge from birth. Because remember I talked last time, like this story almost does not fit inside of at least chapter 13 doesn't fit inside there. So remember all that stuff. So we jump on to chapter 16. Which is really all we talked about today. It was just chapter 16.
Yeah, it was pretty short.
Yeah, so Samson goes to Gaza, and there he saw a prostitute and went into her. We all know what that means. We find, it says the Gazites were told Samson has come here. It's not the Philistines.
Oh, mine's the Philistines.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
It might be potato. So I just noticed that's there, but it's the same thing. Like, we're going to ambush him, we're going to come get him. And it's almost like this story of him in Gaza is a tiny, quick version of the whole Delilah story. Because we know throughout this book that Samson is continually enticed. Mm-hmm. To say he's enticed by women is not tell the truth. Samson has a thing for the ladies.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Samson can't control himself.
Of course.
Samson has issues. And that whole set-apartness thing, one of the big, huge, rules that God gave his people is don't go marry these other folks. Don't have relationships with them. Because you as a people are supposed to be set apart. So now we see Samson as an individual continually going across that rule. So his first Philistine wife that got burned with her family, and foxes, all that kind of stuff. This prostitute in Gaza. So Samson's completely just disregarding this.
He's going off the rails.
The men who let's go up and get him. And then so at midnight he arose, took hold of the doors of the gate of the city and the 2 posts, pulled them up, bar and all, put them on his shoulders, and carried them to the top of the hill that is in front of Hebron. So
picks him up, takes him away.
Picks him up. So I'm looking at my Bible maps right now because I want to see where is Gaza and where is Hebron. I'll switch over B-roll style to the overhead so our viewers can walk around. So let me see if I can find Gaza. Might need the nerdy maps.
I thought Gaza was right on the coast.
Yeah. Something in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
So there's Gaza right there. Okay. Hebron. Okay.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, y'all. This is.
Yeah, it makes you think he's walking like a football field.
No, that
is a march.
I mean, this is a march. This is. Okay, I have bad contacts in. What does that say right there? What's that? What's the distance? Is that full distance? What does it say right there?
That's about 20 miles. A little bit more than 20 miles.
Yeah. Okay, so the story is just. I don't want to get into believability or fact or not fact, but this story is just saying that this guy is stronger than anybody else, and he is taunting people.
Yeah, he's just being petty.
And I mean, what you see here in the side of the story, like this is where it's like this is not the kind of thing you tell kids and encourage them in. Is he is almost making fun of the fact that he is set apart by God, that he has tremendous strength and power because of his set apartness, but he does not set himself apart.
No.
And he takes for granted everything he has.
Of course.
And then you find he goes into the Delilah story. And this whole back and forth and the subterfuge and all the things that's there. But he is like literally making fun of the fact that he has a power that you can't get rid of. And so he's deceiving Delilah. It's just rounds of subterfuge over and over and over. And there also is this thing that shows up multiple times in the same story of binding him. So the men come to Delilah and say, seduce him and see where his great strength lies, and by what means we may overpower him, so that we may bind him to humble him. And so this binding, it's a restrictive access, it's about stopping things, but like to bind him, to humble him. So it's almost like it's not necessarily Samson destroying things and killing people and all the Samson-y things that he does, but it's his absolute lack of humility is what is making them want to do this. So we go into, and I'm sure that if I want to get Bible nerdy, there's all sorts of stuff I can find with the specific things and the back and forth. But you see it coming up, bind me, bind me, bind me, bind me. It all goes back. And then in verse 13, Delilah says to Samson, until now you have mocked me and told me lies. Tell me how you might be bound. So she knows what's going on. She's saying these things, and the back and forth keep on coming up and up. And this is whole thing of him awaking from sleep and him stopping them, which that first story today, like the tiny version of the story, we find him waking in the middle of the night and going and flaunting his strength.
Just doing Samson stuff.
Yeah, doing Samson stuff. So comes back, and she said to him, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? So goes into verse 18, and Delilah saw that he had told her all of his heart. And we think of this understanding of the heart as the seat of his character and who he is. And in an Old Testament Hebrew mindset, the heart was a unique place where the absolute truthfulness of who you are springs forth. And so Samson now sharing the depth of his heart with Delilah is just a continuation of this ongoing, just like spiral fall of him not being a Nazirite, not being set apart. And it almost calls into question the idea of hypocrisy, of outward actions versus a lack of inward disposition. And that Samson just keeps flaunting this and flaunting this and flaunting this. It comes back. Then she says, then she began to torment him and his strength left him. And this doesn't show up anywhere else. Like the last episode I talked about, and you can see him in here, like all of my nerdy, like, I'll overhead that. All of my nerdy green underlines, which is just like repetition and like kind of the structure of things. But nowhere else does she say this. And then she began to torment him. And that torment is a very, very different word. Like that's a word that talks about just, it's deeply intimate, it's personal, it's supernatural, all these sorts of things. And that's when his strength left him. And then she said, the Philistines are upon you. He woke from his sleep and said, I will go out as other times and shake myself free, which we've seen Samson do now, time and time again. It's the Samson-y thing to do. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. So we find that his strength is not necessarily his strength, but it's the abiding presence of God that even though he disregarded all of these things, he is holding. So it's not about his hair, but it's about like that's the last straw. Like if you literally think,
don't break your vow. Don't break your vow.
Yeah, don't break your vow. So it's like, yeah, your inward trash, your inward stuff is trash, but now your outward stuff is trash. And you completely think that this is not going to have any bearing on you. And we find out something, you know.
It was the final straw.
It's the final straw. And so it goes into Dagon. Dagon shows up in a couple other places. Dagon was the god of the Philistines. Later on, when King David gets back, there's a story of the Philistines. It's not King David, it's earlier. King David, Samuel. The Philistines capture the Ark of the Covenant. And they bring it in front of their statue of Dagon, and they wake up the next morning, and the statue of Dagon is fallen on his face with his head and his hands broken off. And then, I don't want to say this because the story's metal, and then they keep on getting sick, and all these things. Like, okay, we got to send the Ark of the Covenant back, and they make 7 gold rats and 7 gold tumors to send back in tribute. But what's really funny is the word tumor in Hebrew that's used is not the word tumor. It's the word for hemorrhoids.
Oh my God.
So it's like, can you imagine going to like the metalsmith, hey, can you make 7 gold hemorrhoids to send back with this thing that's messing with our God? So it's Dagon rabbit trail right there. But that's just kind of a funny, gross
That took a
story.
turn.
Yeah, that took a turn.
Golden hemorrhoids.
Yeah, golden hemorrhoids. And so so Samson comes back. And what's so frustrating is he says, "Oh God, please remember me and strengthen me only this once, oh God, that I may be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." Still,
Yeah, he's still
in his
talking
death,
about himself. Yeah.
in his death, is still obsessed and talking about himself.
You know, when you start reading the first half, you think, oh,
Yeah.
he's repenting. He's finally asking for forgiveness. He's going to just, but no.
So
For his eyes.
no, he never actually repents.
Never.
The story ends with Samson
Winning, technically.
I wouldn't call it winning. I mean, he gets the last laugh.
I guess, yeah.
But he never comes to terms with and admits his complicity and his faults and all of the stuff that's there. And so, I mean, we kind of circling back to Judges, like at that time there was no king in Israel and everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And so the cycle has repeated yet again. So Samson, don't get your kids the stuff.
Yeah, don't get them the stuff.
Don't get them the stuff. I gotta find one of those.
If you find one of those, I would be very surprised. That's so funny. It's like that time when you told me about the foam rocks so you can teach kids how to stone people.
Yeah. Christian retail.
Same energy.
Christian retail. So, Graham, what is your most metal moment of the week?
The most metal moment of the week is when he was eyeless, like the Slipknot song. He literally just said, all right, and he just ends it all for everyone, including himself. I mean, literally kills thousands of people. It was metal. It was like a last stand.
I would say it was that until I realized that he carried the gates of the plaza
for 20 miles.
For 20 miles.
That is pretty funny.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's. I can imagine him like, you know, when you work out and you got just some mastodon just slamming in your ears. I can imagine him just like the Old Testament equivalent of that.
His pre-workout was really good.
His pre-workout.
Do you think Samson dry scooped?
Definitely.
I mean,
That's what it was.
I wonder if what is it they call it? Like CrossFit people get it when they work out too much and their muscles like they go into poison, go into atrophy. Rabo, I think.
What are you talking about?
It's like
What?
this thing that it's called Rabo, and it's your body starts like eating itself or whatever.
Oh.
It's horrible. I wonder if Samson never got. I think it's called Rabo.
I've never heard of that.
So I will ask Jason Lyon. He'll know.
Yeah, oh, hell no.
Yeah. So I mean that, but
You have to get a guest on the show.
yeah, get
That's what
Jason.
Rabo is.
So Jason explained to us. So I think that the Samson, the gates of Gaza, carried him 20 miles,
That's pretty.
and from the shore to the mountains.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Yeah. I don't know.
So
I still think him toppling the whole palace.
okay,
That's pretty metal.
okay. So let us know in the comments which one you think's the metal
Yes.
or what your metal moment of the week is. But Chad and Graham, make sure to go check out the BibleIsMetal.live.
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal now.
Yeah. Big fish in a small pond.
Exactly.
We'll see y'all back next episode.
Bye.